everyone. So today we start the course for computer networks. Okay. So this is basically CS 341. That is the theoretical part which will be handled by me. So what are the components of CS 341? So basically the course components will consist of some lectures. I'll give some class notes also, assignments. There will be some quizzes, as I have told in the last class also, and of course there will be an exam. So in between, in the quizzes, your midsem will also be added there. Okay, so we'll have a set of quizzes along with your midsem, and finally the endsem will be there. The marks division, I will give in the next class. Okay, because I need to do some more calculations on that, and I need to discuss it with the other faculty members also. So then after that, I will give you the marks division. Okay. Uh, as for references, I had told in the last class that see the one in the bold, that is computer networking, a top-down approach by Kuros and Ross. Okay, so currently the 8th edition is out. So you can probably go ahead and have it with you. So the ebook is also available. You can buy hard copy also if you want. And of course, they have also given out their presentations or their PPTs, which partly I will use in this course because it will be available to everybody. Okay, so this is what I am going to follow. Now there will be certain parts which suppose I am giving from some notes kind of things. So in that case, I will let you know which book I am following, but mostly I'll follow this Tannenbaum's book. Okay. So whatever new notes I have prepared, or if I give you anything extra, I will tell you, and then you can go ahead and have a reference from these books. Okay. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay. All right. So right away, I'm just jumping onto the course itself, the introduction to computer networks, because in the last class I had just given a very brief introduction of what computer networks is. So without sparing any more time in anything else, I'm just starting the class right away. Okay. So if you have any other questions related to the admin work of the course, please keep it for the end. Okay, I'll give you some time. You can ask me. All right. So what is computer networks? So as the definition has been given here, computer networks is some kind of a study which connects two autonomous devices. Okay, now what are these devices? These devices can be PCs, these devices can be your mobile phones, your any other smart home devices like your Alexa, your any other personal devices that you have. So any connection between these devices is basically done with the help of a study, and that is what you are going to do. That is computer networks. Okay. Now, the devices that you are going to connect with, they can be geographically located anywhere in the world. Okay, and even as I said, they can be outside the world also, like a satellite. Okay, so you can have satellite communication also. For that also, you need to study computer networks. And if you want to, just communicate between devices, then also you need to study computer networks. So the study of communication between any two autonomous devices is known as computer networks. All right. So whenever we talk about computer networks, the first thing when I say computer network, the first thing that would come to anybody's mind is that yeah, we are talking about the internet, right? So what is the internet? The internet is nothing but a connection of millions of devices, okay, throughout the world. All right. So when we are studying computer network, we will be studying it from the view of what is happening in the internet. Here, how our devices basically connected, and how communication happens between different devices in the internet. All right. So when I'm speaking of internet, we need to speak about the different devices that are usually connected via the internet, right? So what are those devices? As it has been given here, those can be PCs, your server, wireless laptops, smartphone, etc. Now, as you can see here, okay, is my mouse visible to everybody? Is my mouse visible? Can anybody just give an answer? Is the mouse visible to
Yes, ma'am, it
everybody?
is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. I'm not getting the highlighter here. Just a second.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
There is some problem with the attendance. I'm unable to see everyone present. Upon asking, I was told that the person who created the meeting, only that person can see everyone.
Oh. Okay, 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 okay. All right. Sort of. Today I will take the attendance in that case. Okay.
Oh,
Please
okay,
be
ma'am.
here.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is for all the students also. Just after the class, just don't go away. I will take the attendance. Okay. And sort of please be here. Okay. If you can
Yes,
figure
ma'am.
out something with Pradeep, because he was the one who created the meeting. Oh, anyways, the meeting was started by me.
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
fine. I'll just do that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So is everybody able to see the slide on the internet?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So what I was talking about is, so you have a different set of connected devices via the internet, right? So what are those devices? So as you know, they can be your laptops, your PCs, servers, your mobile phones. And one more thing that is added in this picture, please note the picture here. As you can see in the picture, that there's a car also. And you already know that there is a lot of research going on in autonomous vehicles. Okay. So that means when we are talking about autonomous vehicles, they also need to get connected to the internet. Okay. So now they are also becoming part of this entire web of devices. Okay. So when we talk from the the internet's point of view, these devices, like these devices which are basically connecting and giving the information or the required service to the end users, those devices are known as hosts or end systems. Okay. So suppose your mobile phone or your laptop or a server for that matter, those will be called as the end systems because they are the ones with whom the user is basically interacting with the internet. Okay. So with the help of a mobile phone, you are interacting with the internet and you are interacting with other devices. With the help of your laptop, you are communicating with other devices and you are getting connected to this entire network of devices, which is the internet. So these are known as the end systems as they are at the end of this entire network. Okay. And the end systems or hosts, they are responsible for running a huge set of network applications. Okay. So as you all know, so your device that you are having, that is having the different set of network applications. Okay. The job of all the other parts which are there in this diagram, okay, all the other parts is something different. Okay. They are not running any applications as such. What is running the applications? These parts, that is the end systems. Okay. So Let's first start with how the communication is happening. So, for any kind of communication that can happen between any two devices, what we need is a communication link and a medium. Okay, so you all know communication can happen either via the wired medium or via the wireless medium. You have seen both these two types of devices by now, right? So you have Ethernet cables and you also use Wi-Fi, and your mobile phone, of course, is there for cellular network communication. Okay, so there are two types of communication links that can be there, wired and wireless. So some of the wired links, examples of wired links are, optical fibers, um, twisted pair cables, copper cables that are there. Okay. Now, I think you all have studied a lot about optical fibers. So when we are talking about, the basic telephone communication, okay, so that uses optical fibers. And also for certain communications, it uses these twisted wire copper wire cables, and other cables also, other types of cables which we will study later in this same chapter itself. Now, when it comes to wireless communication, then we are talking about radio links and satellite links. Okay, so radio links is basically what is happening on land, how we are communicating uh, using our cellular communication, how we are communicating using Wi-Fi. Those will fall under that, and of course satellite communication. You already know that there is satellite there, and you are basically communicating with the satellite with a ground device on Earth. So these are certain wireless links, and wireless communication will happen through these. Now, when there is a communication, you are basically concerned about how good that communication is, right? So how will you consider how good a particular type of communication is? That is that is measured with the help of a transmission rate. Okay, so what's the transmission rate? Different links can transmit data at different rates. Okay, so basically, how many bits of data is being transmitted per second through this particular communication? That is basically the transmission rate of that particular communication. All right. Now, um, you have already seen the host or end systems. Okay. Now, these end systems are connected to certain devices. Okay, like for example, um, when you have your Wi-Fi at home, you have a Wi-Fi access point, which is responsible for basically connecting your device to the internet. So your phone or your laptop is getting connected with that access point, and from then onwards, this access point is responsible for transferring all the data that you are sending or all the data that you want from the internet. It is basically acting as a gateway with the backend, which is the backbone of the internet. So now let's take the same example of Wi-Fi. So here, if you can see my mouse pointer, so here you have the Wi-Fi access point. Okay, the second one will be home network in case you are unable to see my mouse pointer. So in the home network, if you can see that there's an access point. Okay, there's an access point, and this cross mark is basically representing a router. Okay, so now there is a device that is your laptop, which is basically connected to this access point via Wi-Fi. And this Wi-Fi is basically acting as an, or it is connected to an edge router. Okay, why it is called an edge router? Because it is this router is at the edge of this entire network. Okay, it is at the edge of this entire network, and it is connecting the end systems with itself. Okay. So this is basically an edge router, and this edge router is now connected to a huge set of other routers, which you can see that it is written as regional ISP, global ISP. So ISP is nothing but internet service provider. We will see what is this regional ISP, what is global ISP, what is happening there. For now, these are backbone of the networks, and basically these are nothing but a connection of different set of routers. Okay, a large number of routers basically are connected with each other, and they are somehow segregated or categorized, and they have been named as regional ISP or global ISP. We will study what are these in the next classes. All right. So now the backbone of the network is basically formed with the help of routers and switches. Okay. Now, how do we transfer data? Okay. So you might think that yeah, data is transferred as a signal. You are correct. Data is transferred as a signal via the communication link that is there. Okay. But it is not a continuous chunk of data. If you have like 1 MB or 100 MB of data, okay, so it is not a continuous chunk of that 1 MB of data, or it is not a continuous chunk of that 100 MB of data that you are sending. Okay, why it is that? That also we will study. But for now, just because it is an introductory class, just think of this like that. That if I am sending something very big at a time, then it is basically taking up a lot of time and a lot of resource, right? So if there are so many devices which are, and if we are just sending whatever data they have as a large chunk, so in that case, whichever device has a larger chunk of data basically takes up the time and the resource for a really long time, because of which the other devices will starve. Right? So that is why what we do is we basically transfer or forward a small chunk of data each time from different sources, different end systems. And these chunks of data are sometimes called as packets. Okay, so when we call as a packet of data or a packet being transferred, basically we will use this terminology a lot throughout this course. So whenever we are talking about a packet is being transferred, it is nothing but a small chunk of data that is being transferred, which may have a variable size, may have a fixed size, depending upon how your network's standards are or how your network protocols have been defined already. Okay. So I have used two different words, protocols and standards now. We will get to that. Okay. So we have already got to know that what is an internet. Internet is nothing but a network of different networks. So you can see here, I already told that internet is nothing but a connection of different set of devices, millions of devices. Okay, but if you see this diagram which is there, just a second. Hmm. Yes, so if you can see this diagram, you have your mobile network, you have your home network, and you have your institutional network. Those are separate chunks as you can see, and they are again connected to the regional ISP and the global ISP. Okay, so what is basically happening is that you have different sets of categories of networks, and they are connected to the backbone. Okay, so now for example, you have your mobile phone, and in general, if it is not connected to Wi-Fi, how it is connected? It is basically connected with a cellular communication. I'm talking for just the internet communication right now, okay, not for your phone communication. Okay, so suppose in general you have your mobile phone and there is a base station nearby your area, and your phone is basically connected to that base station, right? Now, if you have the provision of just a model autonomous car, then that will also may also be connected to these cellular towers or base stations. Okay, so this consists of a mobile network. All right, your devices are also mobile, and you are basically trying to have a mobile phone communication here. All right. Now let's come to the second set, that is the home network. Okay. So what's the home network? So home network is basically that you are trying to connect devices at home with the internet. How will you try to connect the devices? As you are connecting right now, as while taking my class, right? Some of you are having a broadband connection. Some of you are having Wi-Fi routers at your house. With that you are doing. And some of you are basically using your mobile phone internet to communicate. Okay. Now, mobile phone internet will again come under the first one, but the rest of it, that is using your Wi-Fi access point at home or simply using your Ethernet cable if you have a broadband connection and you are using an Ethernet cable, then that will also come under your home network. All right. Now, let's get to the third one, which is the institutional network. Okay. So, what is an institutional network? Whatever network you are having at your IITG campus, that will fall under this category. Okay. So what is happening in your IITG campus? In your IITG campus, we have our own edge router here. Okay. Whatever communication, whatever data you are sending, okay, that will go through that edge router. Okay. We have our server, we have our edge router, and that will be responsible for, or basically that will be the gateway to the internet. Okay. So in other networks, like in mobile network, the edge router is basically, as you can see, that is connected to the base station, and that is connected to the global ISP. In home network, if you see, your access point or your Ethernet cable is basically connected to the edge router, and the edge router is acting as a gateway to the regional or the global ISP. Same goes for the institutional network. Okay. So in the institution, what happens is you have a large number of buildings, a large number of departments, students, etc. So it will become too much of heavy traffic if it goes directly to the internet. Okay. So which is why there is a local edge router that is being made, and then that edge router and the server, they are basically handling all the information which is being sent from the user's side or endpoint side, and from there this information is basically forwarded to the entire network. Okay, that is the global or the regional ISP, through the global and the regional ISP. All right. And as I already mentioned, that internet backbone is nothing but interconnected ISPs. Okay, so you have global ISPs and regional ISPs. They are basically connected to each other, and they form the backbone of the network. Any questions so far? Okay, so since there are no questions, so I'll just move forward a little bit more. So I was talking about protocols and standards, right? So what are these things? Okay. So whenever we are talking about internet protocols or internet communication, basically communication between any devices, so there needs to be some sort of rules that need to be followed, right? So those rules will fall under what is known as protocols. Okay, why do we need these protocols? See, we are basically talking about connecting devices worldwide, right? So whenever we are doing this, we need to follow the same set of rules. Otherwise, somebody will make some kind of devices and they will follow some rules, and some other person will make some other kind of device and then that will follow some other kind of rule. So there are different companies, right? If they tend to follow different rules of their own, then you will have different devices, different access points, or suppose you have your Wi-Fi router. For whatever company you are buying, you will have different, specifications, different settings for them. You will have, different rate of data that they will provide, right? So, in order to, give the user a wholesome experience and, make it as simple as possible for the end users, a set of protocols have been rolled out. Okay, so what are protocols? The protocols are basically, some rules which control sending and receiving of data to the internet. Okay, so examples of some protocols which we will study in this course are TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, IP, Internet Protocol, HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and 802.11. Okay. Out of these, I think you already know TCP. I mean, you have heard about at least seen TCP, HTTP, and 802.11. We will go through all of them. Okay. Now, these are set of now we have got to know what are protocols. Okay. So protocols are nothing but rules. Now, where are they mentioned? There should be somewhere that these rules are mentioned. Now, otherwise, where anybody or any company would go and find that what are the protocols that we should follow to make a particular device, right? So those are mentioned in Internet standards. Okay, Internet standards are basically a set of rules that are made by a scientific community. Okay? And this scientific community basically follows the research of a large set of researchers. They have their own researchers. They research for a very long time over a period of time uh, for a particular type of communication. Like for Wi-Fi, there are a set of researchers who have um, over the years, after doing a lot of research, they have found out that okay, these should be the rules that should be followed. Okay, if you are considering cellular communication, then there are a set of researchers which are currently working and previously in the previous generations they have worked, and then they have their set of whatever they feel like these should be the set of rules that should be followed in order to have a good communication, cellular communication. Okay, so those are known as, so these set of rules are found in documents which are known as request for comments, okay, or RFCs. You can search in the internet about RFCs. You can find out RFCs for Wi-Fi. You can find out RFCs for TCP, HTTP, etc. And these RFCs are basically controlled and rolled out by the Internet Engineering Task Force, or IETF, which is an international body um, which basically does the bookkeeping of these documents known as RFCs. Okay. All right. So now we are going to see the service view of the internet. Okay. Until now, what we have seen, we have just seen that the global overview of the internet. What are the basic components of the internet? That's what we have seen until now. Now we are going to see that what are the services that are going to be provided by the. So what what should the internet provide us? Okay, or what should be the requirements from the internet? So basically, it should provide the infrastructure that provides services to different kinds of applications. Applications can range from the basic web browsing that you are having, web communication, email, games, e-commerce, social networking, etc. Okay. So all these applications can be served or should be served by the internet. The internet should have that much of infrastructure to give you service to these kind of applications. Okay. Now, these applications should be distributed. Why they should be distributed? Because they involve multiple hosts or multiple end systems which will exchange data amongst themselves. Okay, so you have a chat application. You can have it on your phone and on your mobile, on your friend's mobile phone. Like suppose, let's talk about WhatsApp. So you have WhatsApp on your phone, your WhatsApp on your friend's phone. That is the application, and that is there distributedly over different devices. The task of the internet is what? To provide communication between these applications so that you two can talk to each other. Okay, you and your friend can talk to each other. Okay, so this is basically the service view of the internet. Now, as we are talking about different applications being at different end systems, so it is quite simple to now say that the applications are basically running only at the end systems. Okay, that is the hosts which are there, and they are not running in the backbone network. Okay, the backbone network is basically these parts written as global ISP and regional ISP. Okay, all the internet applications, as I already told just in the beginning of the class, after a few slides, I have told that all the applications are basically going to run at the end systems. Okay, that is your mobile phone, your laptop, your PCs if you have. So applications will be running there, and the job of the backbone is to just ensure that the services just reach properly to your end system. Okay, so if you are just making a WhatsApp voice call, okay, so in that case, this entire thing, that is WhatsApp, and the photo, etc., the UI, whatever is there, that should be provided by the end system. Okay, it should be there at the end system. The job of the backbone network is just to provide just the data that you are sending. That is the voice that you are sending through your mobile phone, sending it to the recipient in a proper way. That is, the quality of service should be good. Okay, at the end, when your friend is receiving your voice, the quality should be good. That is, your friend should be able to understand what you are saying. Okay. Now, basically, Internet is also said to provide programming interface to applications, as it allows sending and receiving application programs to connect to the Internet. Okay. Now, protocols, as I've already told, a protocol is nothing but a set of rules. Okay. So this is just a example that has been given. If you see the book there also, they have given this example that if two people meet and they just want to get some information, we greet somebody and then we ask them for the information. Okay, so that's just a human protocol that we use in order to talk to anybody. Right? So like here, somebody wants to know the time. This lady wants to know the time from this person, this man. But first there is greeting, the exchange of hi, hello, and then um, there is an exchange of the information that they want to have. Okay? So the same thing happens over the internet also when there is a communication. Okay? Now here the communication is not exactly the hi hello that we do, but it basically reflects that what we do. Okay? So whenever there is a device and it is wanting to connect to another device, okay, and if it is using TCP as a protocol, so in that case, there is going to be a connection request. Whenever the request will be from the sender to the receiver, the receiver will respond to the request. That is, if the receiver is basically willing to give the request or will be able to serve the request or not. So it will give just a response. Okay. So after the response is reached, then only the sender will send the information that it wants or request for the information that it wants and then the receiver will send back the exact information that was asked by the sender. Okay. So this is just a very brief overview of what a protocol is. Okay, when TCP will come, we will have a very detailed study of what is TCP, how does TCP work, and different ways in which things can fall apart, different ways in which TCP is good. So there's a lot to study in TCP. Okay, here I am just telling you what is a protocol, and this is just an example that I have given. Okay, so what is a protocol? A protocol, and it can be
Unable to hear
defined
you. Your voice
as
is breaking.
that a protocol defines the my voice is breaking. Okay, okay, wait, just am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I was there at this slide with protocol, the definition of protocol. If my voice was not audible before this, please let me know. I can repeat from there. Otherwise, I'll start from this one itself.
Repeat the last part, ma'am. Like we are unable to hear there.
This one, the protocols one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So see, as we have already known, what is a protocol? A protocol is nothing but a set of rules, okay, which need to be followed by different makers of devices or even different devices in order to communicate with each other. Okay, so the example that has been given here is that there are two people and there is some information that one wants from the other. So in general human verbal exchange, what we first do, we just don't just try and ask that, okay, what do you want, or any information. If you want, you first just exchange some greetings like hi, hello, and then you will ask the information that you want. So that's a formal exchange I'm talking about. Okay, it's not an informal exchange. So in a formal exchange, this is what goes on. Okay, so the same thing is reflected in the network also, as you can see here. Okay, here in the network also, the same example is reflected. Okay, so here the example is given as a TCP connection request. Okay, so TCP is a protocol, okay, communication protocol, which is used during one of the transfer data transfer phases in a computer network. We will read about it later on in the class also. Um, just a minute. Am I recording? Did the record go off? Just I'll just check once. Yes. Okay. So TCP, whenever suppose we are using TCP, so in that case, what would happen? That the source or the source system, which is asking for any, which wants to know any information or which wants to get any information, that source system is basically requesting the receiver system for a connection. Okay, so first you need to establish the connection between the source and the destination, and then there will be an exchange of information. Okay, so here the source is basically asking for a TCP connection request to the destination. The destination basically responds with the connection response, where it will say that whether it can serve the request that is being asked by the source And once they both agree, once this agreement is done, only after that the sender will actually ask for the data that it wants, or the suppose here it is given as a website. Okay, so it is asking to open that website, or just get the information of that website. So that request is being sent by the sender, and the receiver basically sends the file back. Okay. Now this will happen only after this connection request and response phase is done successfully. Alright. So this is a protocol that is followed for communication. Okay, we will see. We'll read TCP in detail in the course later on how TCP works. But this is just to give you an overview as to how a protocol basically works. Okay, what is a protocol? It is nothing but a set of steps that are to be followed before you exchange the information or while you are exchanging the information. So if I have to formally define a protocol, then how it can be defined? So a protocol basically defines the format and order of messages that are exchanged between two or more communicating entities, as well as the actions taken on the transmission or reception of a message or other event. Okay. So as of now, I have just told you about that how the communication is happening. Okay. So we have seen the example that while the communication happens, there's a protocol that is to be followed. That is, you request for a communication, and then after you get the response, then you try and set up the communication. Okay? So that is one of the works that can be defined by a protocol. Okay, what else can a protocol define? A protocol can define the format and the order of the messages that will be exchanged between two entities. Okay, two or more entities depending upon how many entities you have added. So whatever the communicating entities may be there, a protocol will define the format and the order of messages. It will also define the actions that will be taken on the transmission and reception of these messages or any other events. Okay, all right. So now we will get to the network structure. Okay, so we have in the first few slides we had just seen that what is the mobile network, what is the home network, what is institutional network, and what are the global and regional ISPs. So these we had seen that these were basically just categorized. These are devices in the internet which are categorized in a particular group depending upon the actions that they take or the services that they provide to the end users. Okay, now we are going to see formally what are these parts of the internet. Okay, so this will fall under network structure. Okay, so as I had already told that the devices which are at the end of this uh, entire web of devices, that is the internet. Okay, those are known as the host or the end systems. Okay, now depending upon whether you are asking for the information or you are giving out the information, they can be categorized as clients or servers. Okay, client will be the one which will be asking for the information, server will be the one which will be giving out the information, right? So as in the last slide I was talking about that somebody was asking about, I think, yeah, here here we were having that get HTTP this website. Okay, so the source now will act as the client. This is the one which is asking for the server to open up this particular website, right? And the server is responding after the connection is being established. So hosts can be either clients or servers. Now, how will the hosts be connected to the entire system or the entire web of routers and switches and other devices which are there? So that is done with the help of access networks and physical media. Okay. So access network is nothing but how your device is accessing the network. That is what access network is. Okay, so your device can access the network via cellular communication, via Wi-Fi, via Ethernet connection, or basically what you call as LAN cable. Right? So there are many ways in which your device can access the network, and this concept that how the device, how the end system is connecting to the edge router or the net edge network basically. So that is known as the access network. Okay. Now, if you are using any kind of access network, now your data has to travel through a medium. Okay, so that is the physical medium or physical media. So as we have already known, already seen, the communication can happen via communication links, which can be wired or wireless, right? So physical media basically can be wired or wireless communication links. Okay. Now this basically defines that how your device or the end systems, which are basically at the edge of the network, okay, these devices are basically at the edge of the network, as you can see. Okay, so sometimes these are also called as edge systems. So all the devices which are at the end now, they'll be called as hosts, clients, servers, end systems, or edge devices. Okay, and the routers to which they are connected, they are known as the edge routers, as you can see here. Okay, so these routers are basically, these edge routers are basically connecting these devices. Okay, somebody's mic is on, please mute yourself. So these edge routers are basically connecting all these devices or the data from these devices. They are basically communicating it with the backbone of the internet. Okay, the backbone of the internet consists of routers and switches. So that is known as the network core. Okay, so what is the network core here in this diagram? So this set of global ISP and regional ISP, you are seeing that there are a large number of routers associated to this. They are all interconnected with each other. So that forms the network core. Okay, so these are nothing but interconnected routers, and it is also known as a network of networks. Okay. So we have got to know a lot about what are your access media, access networks, what is the physical media, etc. Okay. So now let us just elaborate on first. Let us elaborate on access network. Okay. So what is access network going to provide? Access network is going to give you the information as to how you will connect your system to the edge router. Okay, so as you can see here, your system is your PC or your laptop or your mobile phone, and you are connecting it to the edge router via different means. Okay, what are those different means? It can be a residential access network or a home network, as I had already mentioned earlier. So this is your home network or a residential network. It can be an institutional access network, which generally happens in a school, in a college, in a company, etc. And you have your mobile access network, that is this one. Okay, so your device is basically connected with a base station, and then that information is sent via the edge router to the core network. Alright. So there are different types of access networks. Uh, the first one, as it has been given here, is the digital subscriber line or DSL. Okay. So I think most of you know about what is the DSL. So can somebody, is there somebody in the class who's using a digital subscriber line? Is there anybody in the class? I hope so that anybody is using, some of you are using DSL subscriber line. So basically what we call as your broadband connections. In local terms, we can call it as a broadband connection. So, is there anybody in the class who uses this kind of a connection? No one. Seriously, no one has broadband?
Hello.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am. This is Vikram. I'm using a broadband.
you're using broadband. Which company?
Velox, sir.
Okay. So, do you have a telephone connection with that, or simply you are just using
This one is
the
just the broadband. There's no telephone with
just
it.
the okay, okay,
We had a BSNL connection, which was a broadband and telephone.
okay. So, when you had a BSNL connection, then there was your phone was also your landline phone, and your house was also attached to it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, this is how it used to work. Okay. So, where's my mouse? Yeah. So, this is your phone into your house. Okay, and this is your system. Okay. From your modem line, see here you can use an Ethernet cable directly to your system, or you can simply use another point you can make here. You can use your Wi-Fi access point. You can use the Wi-Fi access point there, and then you can use your system. But for now, let's just stick to this one. That is, you have your modem and you have a direct Ethernet cable from there. You're using it in your system for internet connection, and you have your telephone line also, which is also given by the same company to you. Okay. So how does the company know that whether you are, so when you are talking on phone, whether you are talking via the whether that voice needs to be sent, or what you are sending via some upload of video you are doing from your laptop, whether that data needs to be sent and which data goes where. Okay. So that is being taken care of by this modem and this splitter. Okay. So the modem is basically taking all the digital data. The splitter is now responsible to basically send the voice that is being given out by the telephone separately, and the digital data that you are sending via your system in a separate manner. It goes to the DSLAM, that is the DSL access multiplexer, which is at your telephone network office, okay, or the exchange we call it. We call it telephone exchange. So this multiplexer is now responsible for separating and sending these two data at different places. So if it's a telephone network, it will go to the it will go to the telephone line, and it will go to the corresponding receiver. If it is going to, if you have data that needs to be sent to the internet, then this will be sent to the core network, to the ISP, internet service provider. Okay, so I will describe the DSL again in detail, and I'll start with this from the next class onwards because I don't have time. It's already 3:56. All right, so I will stop the class here. If anybody has any questions, please ask.